Welcome to Right Fit Leader, a podcast from Alec Broadfoot and the Hire with Confidence team at VisionSpark. This is where visionaries, entrepreneurs, and leaders learn how to hire leaders, lead better, and build teams that last. Through expert insights, real client stories, and conversations with top leaders, you will hear how we find A players for your business. This is Right Fit Leader.
Hello and welcome to this episode of the Right Fit Leader podcast. Today, we're going to talk about an important topic, wrong seat to right seat and the relief it brings. I'm your host, Jennifer Young, and I'm joined by a very special guest, Jim Socci, an EOS implementer of EOS Worldwide. As such, he coaches entrepreneurs and leadership teams to solve root problems, lead more effectively, and gain traction with a simple, proven operating system. He's also a recovering CPA, which we're going to dig into, a business owner, and a successful entrepreneur. Jim resides in Allentown, PA with his loving family, and I have to say has one of the best EOS session rooms I've ever been in. So welcome, Jim, and thanks for being here.
Thank you, Jen. I'm excited to be here.
So I have to ask Jim, only because I know you pretty well. I've worked with you on a couple local EOS events through the years in Allentown, Pennsylvania. And I shared that you are a recovering CPA. So it sounds like there's a story behind that, if you ask me. So do you mind sharing how does an outgoing, high energy leader like you end up in a CPA seat?
That's a great question. So the story goes back to college. I went to college, Muhlenberg College, and I wanted to do two things when I went to college. One was play football, and the second thing was own my own business, which for me, they actually had an entrepreneurship major. So that was a natural, this is the place I'm going to go to school. So like most majors in business, you're going to start out with the basic accounting classes, right? So a couple things happened. I started reading the textbooks in accounting, and they apparently said accounting was a language of business, which I have found out the hard way is not really true. Accounting is a function within business, and there is some linguistics aspects of it. You need to learn that language to run that function. But then, as I was continuing to read, I heard something like 80% of CEOs are business owners, or they have accounting degrees. And I was like, okay, well, that's pretty high up there. CEOs could be like owners. So I'm like, I should pursue this a little bit further. I should think about it a little bit more. And then all of a sudden, as I got into past accounting 101, I started realizing that I had these friends of mine who were upperclassmen getting these fancy, high-paying jobs in accounting. And I was like, maybe I should just go in this direction and see what happens. So took the safe route and worked in public accounting, worked in a big six, I guess it was big six at the time, and worked really hard, was completely miserable, and realized that auditing financial statements and doing those kind of things was not where I wanted to spend the rest of my life. So that's my story into entrepreneurship. Well, then I bought a business, and then I learned really what accounting didn't give you in business. Lots of recurring net losses, millions of dollars in debt. Yep, I bought the T-shirt and experienced the woes and challenges of many, if not most, business owners that Gino Wickman speaks of.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. It's something, the pain that you feel when you're in a seat, and even if you're good at it, if it is not within your unique ability, if that's not something that is fun for you to do, how really it can drain on you and drain on your energy, isn't it?
100%, because we all have capabilities and we can develop those, or we can learn skills, and accounting is a great skill to learn. It just wasn't fun for me, right? I can do it, I can understand it, but it wasn't. Yeah, I'm very capable. I got the C, right? I got the capacity to do it. I just don't want to do that.
The other important letter, right?
Yes.
So, were there other times that you didn't feel like you were either in the right seat or
Mm.
the right leader for a right seat in the org chart that you were in?
Yeah, so that's a really great question because a lot of people ask like why I sold my business.
Yeah.
And so it was a toy manufacturing company, a few $1 million a year in revenue. Like I said, I thought I was a smart kid, 29 years old, running this business, and I ran it for 12 years. I like to say the first 5 years it ran me, then I learned how to like work on my business. And what I realized is I was like the man. I was like integrating this company, but it was I realized there was a point in the journey when I turned things around and we got it profitable, we got it growing, and I realized that I wasn't the right visionary for this company because I had no passion to go out and develop the next pillow pet. And I mean, I don't know how familiar you are with like stuffed animals and the industries that support it, but like this business needed that really like the founder that founded the company. I mean, he came up like literally back of the envelope and drew out what the Chick-fil-A cow would look like.
Wow.
And he created that and sold millions of them. Right. So, and that's what I kind of inherited that business and realized that like without that vision for what was possible with this kind of like company, the resources I had no desire to continue to invest in my time, my resources in growing this kind of business because it just wasn't going to get me what I wanted, from my life. So that's where I realized I was not in the right seat. Again, I got it. The experience is wonderful. It's just awfully expensive sometimes.
Yeah. What a great point. What a great point. Have you had a time when you've had the privilege of working with a right fit leader by your side or a right person, right seat that was like your number two? And what did that do for you professionally and personally?
Mm. Well, this one's a personal one. All right. Yeah, I mean, I would have to say my wife, Betsy. I mean, she was my number two. Right. So she is naturally an integrator. Now, here's the thing. We're both CPAs. So imagine that. I'm slightly higher on the visionary side. Rocket fuel, I'm not sure, crystallizer assessment, you guys probably use that in your process. I'm an 84 on the visionary side and like a 79 on the integrator. So, I can be my own worst enemy, right? I can do just enough, but I do get tired of like integrating. I do love to sit in that visionary seat, but I sold my wife on the vision of coming into the business that I bought, and man, we loved it. It was great working together. We were a great team. But as you know, like back in 2009, there was some circumstances in the economy where it just did not make sense for us to continue to keep that team together. But it was some of the best experience that I had working with my wife and working with that right fit leader next to me. So that's been my personal experience. But then I've seen it with clients more recently. I just wrote down when you talked about the name of this podcast, Wrong Seat to Right Seat and the Relief It Brings.
Yeah.
So I wrote down the names of 3 clients where I've seen that, and they all have something in common. And when it happens, and then we're talking, integrator, visionary, right? That's the seat that we're really talking about, the relief that it brings. I have personally seen my visionaries get a huge relief, like additional peace, right? And their ability to let go, but their ability to dream even deeper, right? Yes. And to really go further and explore things like strategic coach, right? Or, go to these places that it's just, and when they get there, they're like, oh man, I found my people. Yes. And I have a team behind me, and I can let that team run and, just flourish. but because they really have to first understand the distinction between the two seats. And it's very intuitive, I think, when you just read it, or, someone explains to you integrator versus visionary, big picture. I get a lot of visionaries, integrators, founders who just be like, that's me. And they got that general manager type that are like, that's me, the integrator, got it. But they don't really understand it. Yeah. They don't really understand the depth of it and how to stay in those lanes. But when they figure it out, when they put their toe in the water and they start moving in that direction, and maybe they start working with a fractional integrator. And what I've seen is when they dip their toe in, get an experience, get a taste of it, they're ready to go all in. Yeah. They see the value. And a lot of times they say, I don't know how I can afford this, but ultimately get to a point where they say, I don't know how I can not afford this. And when they do that, and they start tasting it and they start seeing the results, I'm looking at these 3 clients I've named. I've gotten 40% year over year growth. I mean, if I saw it once, I'd say it was a coincidence. Right? If I saw it twice, maybe that's just, lucky. I don't know. But to see it happen 3 times, and again, part of it's EOS. There's a lot of circumstances, right? Not every client, is ready or has the need, or, a variety of circumstances, other structural things that they're trying to fix. But when they can get that integrator in the right seat, I would hands down say they're sleeping better at night. They're profitable. They're achieving more. The team is happier. There is a lot of other intangible things happening. The communications are better. There's the increased accountability, throughout the organization. It's awesome to watch.
Yeah.
And it makes my job a lot easier, I'm gonna be honest.
I was just going to say, when you're an EOS implementer and you have really the right leaders in the right seats, the right people in the right seats, it must make your job so exciting to watch and see, because you're watching that growth like right in front of your eyes. You're watching that story unfold of that business. And it's hard to calculate those costs of what dreaming bigger does for the visionary until you have a client that kind of goes through that experience and you see the growth. So that's really exciting that you guys get to see that firsthand as implementers. What do you think it costs a visionary emotionally when they spend too long without the right integrator, or another leader even not being the right leader in the right seat around them?
It's a lot. I mean, not to be cliche, right? But I have, and I'm speaking directly, and I'm thinking of the people that are on this list, and I'm still thinking about them, because they know what it costs them. And it's a lot. It costs them their health. It costs them their family. One of the people that I've referred to you to Vision Spark, I mean, we could speak specifically, and we won't name names, but she lost her family. You take a relatively successful, business, and then you take it from $2 or $3 million to $13 million over a short period of time. And, and they're not running on EOS. And you're like, wow, they're amazing, but they're losing themselves. They're losing their life, their family, because they're so obsessed with this business and they can't let go. And because they're really strong they're a unique breed of entrepreneur that's very technically savvy, but also very operationally savvy. You see that a lot with like engineer types or doctors. Yeah. And even I could maybe put myself in that category, because I'm like the 84-79, in that you could do both, and you feel like you have to do both. And there's no way A, I can't afford that person. B, I can't trust anybody. How could I bring somebody in at that level? And how could they understand my industry? They don't have that kind of knowledge. They don't have the relationships with the people. Like there's all those like things that are going through your head. Say, I can't. But I think what Vision Spark and EOS bring to leaders, founders, visionaries, and the visionary integrator, combination is that it is possible. And if you want to grow like you've never grown before, and you want to have the peace that you haven't had, and you want to say, I got into business for freedom, and I don't have it. I don't have the freedom. I don't have the freedom of my time. I don't have the freedom of my, of my finances, from the standpoint of, man, I'm just continuing to burn cash and put more and more into this business and not really feel like I'm getting much more out of it. And I'm wearing all of these hats, sitting in all these seats. There's no relief. So again, I think if you're feeling that, like, I've got a good business, I've gotten it to this point, I'm probably, as the founder, in the wrong seat, or I'm in too many seats in this organization. So I got work to do.
Yeah, that probably happens a lot when visionaries first come to you. Maybe they're in more than one seat initially when they're implementing EOS, and they got to figure out, how can they get out of these seats?
And that's really like a lot of the work we do. It starts right in the focus day, right on that first day. It's building out that accountability chart. And, it's always amazing because, like, most of the time, the people in the room that day end up on the board, end up somewhere on the chart, 9 times out of 10, it's safe, it's a safe place to be. But then what I've really, over the years, I've gotten into really challenging clients and challenging that, because you have like 2 types of founder visionaries. They don't want. You've got the founding visionary that just wants to be the visionary, and they want to give that seat to somebody on the team. And that works about half the time, right? They're saying, oh, we're going to grow into that. Yeah. But they don't really fully grasp the value of that right person in that seat. They're just like, hey, we're going to do the best we have. We're going to do the best we can with what we have.
Yes.
And that makes a lot of sense. But over time, I mean, if you're not hitting your scorecard numbers, your rock completion's low, you probably got the wrong integrator. And if you're still, as a founder owner, still making a lot of those P&L decisions, and everybody's coming to you for that ultimate end decision, you probably, again, it's nice. I mean, that integrator you have put in that seat is still very valuable to you, but there's another level that's hard to get to, because that integrator is also probably sitting in your ops seat. Exactly. They're sitting, and they can't let go of that seat either. Right. So this practice of letting go, your existing team doesn't know how to let go, because, well, what is it? As you go, they go, right? You've still trying to figure out how to let go of some of that seat. So,
yeah, we see that a lot too. When you have somebody within that you just kind of assign that seat to as integrator, because you're just starting EOS, and you're trying to make the best with what you have, and then later you bring on an integrator that's maybe worked for a company your size and gone to the size of your vision. Mm-hmm. What a difference, because that leader already knows the path that to get to where the vision is, which is really exciting. It makes less on the visionary too, less pressure, less work on the visionary, because the leader knows how to get them to their vision, which is exciting.
Yep. So I was having a conversation recently with a friend of mine, and early stage entrepreneur, and really looking at his challenges, and he's like, he knows he needs an integrator. And I said, so getting into his business and his organization and how it works. And I was like, all right, I know I'm going to explain to you what you're looking for is a unicorn. Because I said, right now you need an integrator. I said, but you haven't imagined what the right integrator looks like.
Yes.
I said, so let me paint a picture of this unicorn for you. And I said, there's like 3 or 4 things about this unicorn. I said, they know EOS. They absolutely know the operating system. That's the operating system that they know how to run. And it's great if you're already running on EOS, but make sure you find that integrator that really understands the operating system. Now, imagine they also know your industry. They've got industry experience. So they've got industry experience. Let's just say you're in, construction. They've got construction. Now, they got construction experience. They know EOS, and they've been an owner and a founder that have scaled a company from 5 million to 50 million. How valuable is that? Now that do you start to see the unicorn? Like you are taking, like if you could put that person in your organization, what would it do for you and for that organization? And they really like getting into the weeds of how things work better. How do we drive accountability throughout the organization? How do we look at the right things? How do we set the right goals? How do we start communicating consistent messages? You can't tell me that's not going to take an organization through the ceiling and way beyond.
Yeah, that's exciting.
Yeah.
So let's switch gears here for a moment. I know you do a lot of podcast episodes with different individuals. So what is something you wish more leaders knew about your work as an EOS implementer?
More people knew about my work as an EOS implementer. Like what do EOS implementers do that maybe other, like somebody that's not familiar with EOS?
Yeah.
Like, well, I'm going to just put this simply. It's the community of EOS. And I trace this back, and I realized this early on in my EOS journey, right? When I became a professional EOS implementer, I knew there was this great book, Traction, and I'm going to help people implement these tools, this proven set of tools. It's like, great. And so I went to our boot camp, and I was like, I had to get prepared. I had to know like the book Traction back and forth,
Yeah.
And then I knew I was going to go to this boot camp, and I was going to basically be tested on it, to be expected to deliver on it. And then I knew what I was getting from EOS was like they were going to teach me how to sell it. They were going to give me the proven recipe to get clients, right? So I knew that. Going in. I had certain expectations for what I needed to know, and I was going to get something from EOS. But then what I got when I was there, I was not expecting, which I believe is the X factor in EOS, and that is the community. And that community consists of you, Jen Young, Vision Spark, 90IO. I mean, just to name a couple big things, like there are it's like if you want, it's like we realize that there are certain challenges. I don't want to say every client, but most clients, a lot of clients are going to have, and we have proven resources, trusted partners that says, I can just say, go in this direction and you will find an answer. And I can, and that's the biggest thing. I mean, I think your EOS implementer has the ability not to necessarily to solve your problem or challenge that you're facing, but point you in a direction that allows you to solve it. And say, I know if this is really the root of your, existing challenge, here are a couple of paths you can take that others have taken and gotten, great results. So I don't know that everybody understands that.
That is so good. You become really a great trusted advisor to your clients in so many other ways than they imagine when they first meet you.
Mm-hmm.
I just think it's really invaluable for companies. If anybody listening is self-implementing EOS, I cannot tell you the value of working with an implementer like Jim. It changes everything when you get to have that trusted advisor in the room with you for those quarterlies, those annualies. It's just really, really exciting to see the work that you all do through EOS Worldwide. Now, I know I mentioned earlier that you have one of the nicest EOS session rooms I've ever been in. And I know in that same building, You have an event coming up on October
Correct.
1st that I'm going to be at. Can you please tell our listeners about that event and what they're going to learn if they
Yeah.
attend your event there?
Yep. So we are hosting a data workshop, and I'm very, very excited. So EOS has a traction library, and one of the more recent books that was released called Data. Mark Stanley and Angela Clemess co-authored this book, and they formed what's known as the Unstoppable Team. So the Unstoppable Team will be, I'm just hosting them, but you will, participants will get to spend the day with the Unstoppable Team. And I was, I'm blown away by the impact that this Unstoppable Team is having, across the nation, right?
Yeah.
Last year, they conducted 11 workshops, and this year they're going to conduct 20. So we're on the tour, October 1st, here in Allentown, 2026. And what we're going to be doing. So if you're an EOS client, you're probably familiar with the EOS tool called the 8 cash flow drivers. So they are going to be, number one, taking a deep dive through the 8 cash flow drivers, helping organizations identify areas to help improve cash flow, whether that's increased revenue, whether that's decreased expenses. And they have there are some really simple metrics, and being a former CPA. And again, I think that's secretly why, or subconsciously or consciously, why some founder leaders like to work with me because
Have that background.
Maybe I like understand that they trust that I understand the economics of their decisions. But when we do the 8 cash flow drivers properly, we are going to identify. I just did this with one of my clients, and we got through we identified 8 cash flow drivers in the exercise. But then when we really dug down and set goals with each of those cash flow drivers, we went through 3, and we identified tangibly over $500,000 in a year that they would be able to benefit from making the changes. Now, that's exciting. But that's like, we spend about 45 minutes to an hour in a quarterly session teaching this. It's not nearly enough time. The Unstoppable Team, like, they've dedicated, I was talking to Mark Stanley just last week, and I got the workbook here, the Unstoppable workbook. 60% of this is not even in the data book that's written. So what's in here is pure gold. We're going to be helping, a lot of the things, there's like the things you hear about in EOS, right? Super simple things like scorecard. We need activity-based measurables. We need to get those scorecard numbers not only at the leadership team level, but down to the department level. Yeah. That, but you're not getting there. Come to this workshop if you want to get there, right? Every seat needs a number. Okay, everybody intuitively gets that, but when we look at the accountability chart, we don't see the number. How do we get to that number? And this isn't a theory, this is a whole workshop, and we're going to be getting there in this workshop for a full day on October 1st. So it's like EOS conceptually is simple. I always say simple is not necessarily easy. We need to go deeper, and this workshop is going to allow leaders to go deeper. And we're not just talking about the financial leaders, the person that sits in that finance seat. Yes, they're going to be eating this up, but we want the operational leaders there. We want the integrators there. If you want to get the most out of this work, you're going to have at least 3 of your leaders there. You can try to get the visionary there if you want, but they might be sitting in more than one seat. Who knows? But start getting sales leaders there, your finance leader, your ops leader, that integrator. That's going to be better than the perfect trifecta, right?
Yeah, I imagine. Yeah.
Because identification of where the opportunity is step one. It's an important one. and we're going to get there in this workshop. But step 2 is you got to go back and get execution. We got to get traction, and having those leaders on the same page, they can start setting goals, and they can start, marching towards, millions of dollars of cash flow impact for their business. And that's why I'm excited to, bring people to Allentown. We've only got 50 seats, and we've got an early registration opportunity.
Where can people sign up?
Yeah, they can sign up. That is a great question. We should drop that. We have a website and a registration link and a QR code. It's the website is unstoppable/business.com. And there is an Allentown location. You'll probably see, all the 2026 locations that are still available out there throughout the country. Just click on Allentown, and we could drop the specific link, for the Allentown location, maybe in the podcast section. But
yeah, absolutely. And if you connect with Jim or I on LinkedIn, we also will be letting people know about this event too in the weeks coming up, reminding them. Do you think it's good for business owners too that maybe want to get more information on their data or their numbers, but maybe they haven't signed up to work with an implementer yet or implement EOS? Is it a good introduction for them to what EOS might possibly do for them?
Oh, 100%. I mean, not as though I'm trying to sell seats, but here's the thing. Like, I'm working right now with some really great companies that have self-implemented EOS for years, and they're getting great results. And they're getting 18% year-over-year growth. They're not getting 40. They're just getting the average, right? Yeah. But what I see is like they don't have the implementer. They don't have the leadership team manual. They don't know about the other tools.
Right.
They only know about 5 tools. There's 40 tools in the toolbox. Cash flow drivers is one of them. There's no way they know about it. And just like every tool in the EOS toolbox, you don't need an implementer to know how to use the tool.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you're self-implementing and you don't think your scorecard is telling you what you want it to tell you, if you don't feel like I think the best example in the data book, I love this example. If you don't feel like you're driving your business through the windshield of the car, you feel like maybe you're looking through the rearview mirror and you can't predict and see where you're going, then this workshop is for you. Any business owner, any founder, any leader that doesn't feel like their data is actively telling them that they can't make immediate course corrections to see the pothole that's coming, to make, immediate impact on their business, this is the workshop.
That is great. Well, I hope our listeners join us at that workshop. So one last question here. What's a question that you wish people would ask you more often, Jim?
Question I wish people would ask me more often. This is as it relates to EOS, any question that people should ask me.
What's something you wish people would ask you? Maybe when they're considering, I know you do a free 90-minute meeting with people. Is there a question in that you wish business owners would ask you when they're contemplating working with you as their EOS implementer?
Yeah, I'm usually the one asking the question. Well, yeah, I mean, again, I think, the question that would be interesting to ask, would maybe be around, what type of results have you gotten for your clients?
Great question.
I don't think I've asked that question very frequently. And part of me is, thinking, people don't make decisions rationally. They make decisions emotionally. So maybe that's probably why I don't get asked that, or why I don't get asked that questions. But I think a lot of times we want to, as, salespeople or, people, when we're really hyped up about what we do, we want to show you every data point that tells you this is a good decision, this works, So again, and I like to just brag, on and I can't tell you, like, every client doesn't get 40%.
Yeah.
It's like the other question is, well, like, how many have dropped off? Right?
But the ones that do the work, I bet, are the ones that get the 40%.
Exactly. Yeah. And
follow the process that you're teaching them, the EOS.
Yeah. Well, again, so let's frame it in terms of a question. The question that I don't get is, what do I need to succeed with EOS?
Great question.
And I'm going to answer that by saying, dummy up. Dummy up. Because sometimes as business owners, we've been doing this a while. We've seen everything. We know everything. You're not going to tell me anything that I haven't seen before or don't already know already. That may be true. But I have to encourage them to go at this with a novice mindset, that you don't know everything, that you have to be open to being ignorant. And trusting the process. My best clients that get the best results, they do one thing. They trust me.
Yeah.
They trust me enough to make hard decisions.
Yeah, I love that.
That's it. Trust me enough to make hard decisions. So it's like kind of a two-part thing, right? Because we sit here and everybody's on the accountability chart and in the room, and then we have to have a conversation afterwards and say, that leader isn't the right leader, is going to hold you back. Do you want to tell them? Yeah. No, they don't want to tell them. But it's true. And it's like they're a great leader for your organization, but not in that integrator seat.
Yeah.
How long do you want to, hold on to that? And, what do you want to do with it? You're going to have a lot of trust, and you're going to have to make some hard decisions. So I guess that's what it takes to see. No one asks me, I guess, what's it really going to take for me to succeed and get everything I want from my business with EOS?
Yeah, I love that question. Jim, thank you so much for being here today and for all of your insights into the relief that Right Fit leaders really bring to visionaries. So please tell our listeners, Jim, how do people work with, connect, and find you?
I think the easiest place to connect with me, if you go to Google and you type in Jim Socci, EOS Worldwide, Allentown, Pennsylvania, I should be at the top of the search, right? Probably in ChatGPT too. And then, EOSworldwide.com has, my, / and then my name, Jim-Socci, SOCCI, and you can find me there as well.
Great. Well, thank you so much. And thanks to our listeners. If you need guidance on finding right fit leaders for your team, feel free to reach out to us, either me on LinkedIn or our website, visionsparksearch.com, to request more information. And remember, you are only one hiring strategy session away from taking the first step in finding your next right fit leader.
Thanks for listening to Right Fit Leader, brought to you by VisionSpark. Have questions or ready to hire your right fit leader? Email us at discover@vision-spark.com. Until next time, remember VisionSpark is your go-to partner for finding leaders and building teams.